than human. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today we are back with Tyranny of Faith. Now, I just recently read the first book, Justice of Kings, by Richard Swan. And immediately, as soon as I read it, I was like, this is going to be something special. And if you've watched the last video, I kind of compared him to like
Joe Abercrombie
in the way I kind of feel about his writing, and I think he's going to be kind of that next breakout author. Now, if you haven't read Justice of Kings, you might want to turn back until you've read it, because there's going to be some spoilers in here, a little bit, for that book. But so I mean, let's kind of like run right into this. A lot of people were thinking, is he going to be able to kind of keep that level? And a lot of times, if an author, I almost feel like these were written back to back. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe if I ever get to talk to him, I'll ask him. But it feels like it's just one cohesive, story running right into it. Because a lot of authors, when they write a book, even if the next book picks right up, sometimes there's this, especially at the beginning, it just doesn't quite feel like it. And, it feels like there was some time in between writing it, and maybe their style has changed up a little bit. This flows perfectly, and it is well worth it. If you liked the first one, you're gonna love Tyranny of Faith. And if you were on the fence about whether you should jump into the next one, I would say yes. And let's kind of jump into it, right? So we're following Von Volt, Conrad, who is the king's justice. He has unchecked power. Basically, all the justices can kind of come out and they deal out the justice of the emperor. But then we have our band of four, which is Radomir, who is the sheriff, the small town sheriff. Berzinger, the man who lost his arm. And then, of course, Helena, who is the clerk of the justice. Now, we're following them through this whole thing, and we immediately, at the beginning of this, run into Sovia. So we've heard about it. We've heard about the capital city of the empire in the first book, and he hasn't been back there for 2 years. Helena has never seen it. And so he really, Richard really gives us the visuals and the splendor. And as everyone's walking into the city, they're looking at it like, wow, like almost like, I think he really was picturing Rome when he was writing this. And it's kind of like, well, what were these people who lived on farms in really rural areas or small villages, and then they came to Rome in its heyday? What would they see? Because we're all inspired by Rome, by ancient Rome now when we look at the ruins of it. What would it look like to people who've never seen buildings on that scale? And really, that's how he makes you feel as we're going through this. And then, of course, we continue with Claver. And he's, this big bad guy that's kind of looming over the story, right? And a lot of people had asked me, do you think that Richard is going to keep this as like a mystery, who done it, what's going on? And if you're here for that, yes. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but he definitely does keep that theme of a mystery and an amazing twist happens. So if that was one of your favorite things from the first book, you will not be disappointed. I actually think that it's better, and the twist and everything is better here than in the first book. But in this book, there's a big thing of Helena watching Von Volt, and seeing him progress, because he's got he's trying to save the Empire. The Empire's gonna fall apart. At least that's what Helena thinks, and so she gets to watch her mentor, the guy she thinks can do no wrong, and he has to, make decisions and do certain things that maybe are morally questionable or are on the borderline, and we get to see what somebody feels like when they kind of watch their mentor that they think is perfect and they're not. That's a big thing within this whole book. And then you have to, and another question that's kind of asked of you here is, if everybody's cheating, do you cheat too? What do you have to do to level the playing field here? I think that is, pervasive throughout this book, and I love when authors put that question to their characters and to the reader. It's like, do you stay with your 100% with your morals, your plan, or whatever, when you see everybody else basically doing whatever it takes? Are you willing, to possibly lose because you won't do whatever it takes, or you won't cheat, so to say? That's one of my favorite things. And then another thing that he's done, he tapped into it a little bit in the first book, is this whole afterlife, communion with the dead, but he kind of digs it deeper here and gives it more of a horror feel to it, an ominous, dreadful feeling. And I think that's one of the highlights of Tyranny of Faith, is that kind of hauntingness that you feel throughout the book. He does it well enough that it doesn't overshadow the story, but it's always there, kind of creeping in the background. There was no sophomore slump here, no middle book syndrome. I believe this is a trilogy. Just back-to-back bangers. I freaking love Richard Swan. He's going to be an instant read for me. He's become one of my new favorites. I guess we got another year before the next one comes out, but I think he is just going to exponentially grow, and he is going to be that new it author that everybody wants to read and everybody wants to talk about. And I am trying to kind of set up with a few other booktubers here, and we might try to get a discussion going towards the end of the month, or maybe the beginning of next month, about Justice of Kings and Tyranny of Faith, and maybe have a discussion. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't already. If you made it this far, why not subscribe? I try to bring you the latest and greatest books going on, and I already have a list of the biggest releases of the year. I'm going to try to get to those as soon as they come out and get them to you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, be more than human.